Well, all right, and welcome to the God Talk with the host, Chris Markwood. I'm so excited to be continuing this message series. This message series is called Connection. I'm looking at how we can be connected with God. How when we do what God's called us to do, how we can become connected with Him and through Him. And so, if you guys have your Bibles, man, that's awesome. Blow them off, dust them off, whatever you gotta do to get them open. And we're going to be in Numbers. We're going to be in Numbers 18, verse 7. And looking at how we can become connected. So often we are so unconnected. We are so disconnected from everything and everyone that we often don't see what is right in front of us. So often we get so tied up in our world. We get so tied up in the things of this world. But yet God says, connect with me. Have fellowship with me. And so often we don't do that. We don't connect with people. We don't connect with the people in our churches. We don't connect with the people at our workplaces. We don't connect. And so we feel lost. We feel lost and unaware. And so when we connect, it's having fellowship with one another. Christ said that when he was having dinner with all of his disciples, they had everything in common. Why? Because they were connecting with one another. And it's so important for us to connect. And so if you were with me last week, we looked at how we can connect in Christ. Today is how can we connect with friends? How can we connect with friends? So often we don't connect with the people who are closest to us because of what they might think of us, because they might think that we're different than they are. And we often are at a standstill on what to do and what to say. But Christ says, no. Have fellowship with one another. Have fellowship with one another. And what does that mean? It means getting to know one another. Doing what Christ has called you to do. And so, if you guys have your Bibles, man, that's awesome. Read along with me. If you guys don't have your Bibles, just know that I'm deeply offended. And it says this in Numbers 18, verse 7. It says, only you and your sons may serve as priests in connection with everything at the altar. Inside the center, I'm giving you the service of priesthood as a gift. Anyone else who comes near the synagogue, the sanctuary, is to be put to death. And so we see that Christ is giving us a gift. Because it says, but only you and your sons may serve as priests as in connection. What does that mean? It means God is calling us. God is calling us. He's saying, hey, I want you to serve. I want you to serve under me. I want you to serve as priests, as disciples, and to go into the world and teach what I have taught to you. Because so often we don't do what Christ has called us to do. Because we get so disconnected from the world, from God. And so we start to get scared of what people might think. Instead of thinking God will be glorified through it. Instead of thinking that this is what God has intended for us to do. We get scared and we back off. We get scared, we back off. We say, I don't really want to do this. But Christ says, you are in connection with me. You will serve as my disciples. Going out into all the world and teaching what I've taught to you. Connecting with friends. Connecting with friends is so important for so many people. Because friends are someone who you can tell anything to. Who you can talk to. Who you can share things that you can't even share with your family. And how to connect with friends and how to make Jesus a friend. The way that we can make Jesus a friend is by doing what he has called us to do, but also treating him like a friend. We treat our friends with respect, usually. We treat our friends with respect, with humility. And we see that in this moment, Christ is doing something amazing. We see in this moment that we can become friends with him through the relationship that we have with him. Christ said when he died, I want a relationship with you. I want a relationship with you. And so that means being a friend. Because friends are supposed to be there for each other. Through thick and thin. Who are always supposed to be there for you. Who are never going to turn their backs on you no matter what. And that's God. That's Christ. Saying, I will never turn my back on you. I will never turn my back on you. Only you and your son may serve as priests in connection with me. The next part, it says that everything is at the altar. And inside the center, I am giving you the service of priesthood. I am giving you the priesthood of me. What does that mean? It means that as his disciples, we are called to be held to a higher standard. To do what no one else is doing. To say, you know what? I'm going to live for Christ. I'm going to live for Christ. I'm going to do what he has called us to do. So often we don't connect enough with him. We don't connect enough with him. We don't do what he has called us to do. And Christ says, I want you right now to have a connection with me. Have a connection with me. And we see throughout the entire scriptures that there have been so many people. There have been so many people who have a connection with Christ through his Spirit. And he's saying, hey, you know what? I want a relationship with you. We see with Jonah, as he was swallowed up by the whale, Christ said, you know what? I want to have a relationship with you. I want to live in you and through you so that you may be glorified through me. So that you may be glorified through me. So that you may know me. And no matter how far you run, I will bring you back full circle to the place that you need to be right now. Not the place that you want to be. Not the place that all your friends are going to be at, but the place that I want you to be at. The place that I want you to be at right now. And we see that when we do what Christ has called us to do, we have this connection, we have this passion to know him. We see with Noah how he had such a relationship, such a connection with him, that God told him 15 years in advance that there was a flood coming. And he spoke to Noah in such a way that when people look at it, they say, wow, I want that. I want a relationship with him. We see that when we are in connection with God, he speaks to us. When we are in connection with God, he shows us the way. When we are in connection with God, we are doing what he has called us to do. And so we see that it says, you and your son may be in connection with me. And you will serve. Everything is at the altar. And everything in the center. I'm giving you the service of the priesthood. I'm giving you the service of the priesthood as a gift. Saying it's not just a curse. It's not just something that people do. But instead, it's something that we can share with others. I believe that this is true. That this is a gift. A gift, an opportunity to give to the church But not only give to the church, but give to each other the love of Christ. We see that the church is something that is so important. But what is also important is going out and having a connection with Christ. We see that even in the love stories of Christ, how there was a connection, a deep connection with Christ. How there was a deep connection with Christ. There was an overwhelming sense of knowing Christ is. Knowing the things that are in this world. And so, we see that having a connection with Christ can be an opportunity to do what no one else is doing. To go and seek the world so that God may be glorified through it. It says, I have given you this priesthood as a gift. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary is to be put to death. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's so harsh. But what is this saying? Is that if we get too close to the world, when we start to get trapped in the world, we start to get trapped in the world's waves, that it will put us to death. Because that is not the priesthood. That is not the sanctuary of God. But that's the sanctuary of the world, tearing us away from God. It's like this. It's like having a rash. And what happens with rashes if you don't take care of it? If you don't stop scratching it, they start to hurt. And then we start to peel off the skin, the dead skin, and that hurts. And that's what the world wants to do. The world wants to rip off the skin. And Christ says, no, if you just leave it. If you put some ointment on it, it will get better. It will get better. And that's what Christ wants for us. Is to do what He has called us to do. Because when we do not do what we are called to do, we start to get dragged away. And when we lose that connection with Christ. How many of us today get mad when our Wi-Fi goes down? When we cannot connect to the internet, we get mad, don't we? When we lose our connection to the world, when we lose connection to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we get so annoyed. We start yelling at our monitor. We start yelling at our phone. We start yelling at the Wi-Fi thing. And we're like, come on, connect. Come on, hurry up. And we lose that connection. When we lose that connection with Christ, that is how we should act. As if our Wi-Fi just went down. If you guys were with me before my message series called Comfortable, we looked at how we often become too comfortable. We often become too comfortable with the world. We get too comfortable with the things in this world. And we lose that connection with Christ because we are so engaged. We are so engaged to being connected to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram, that we forget that there is another connection that we have to uphold. There is another connection that when we lose it, can be detrimental to our life, and that's the connection to God. That's the connection to our Heavenly Father, who loves us so much that He sent His Son, not to punish us, but to show us life. To do what He has called us to do. And we need to uphold that connection. Like we are searching for the Wi-Fi. Because when our connection with Christ is going good, when our connection to Christ is strong, so is our faith. So is everything